This month, the nation celebrates Native American heritage, honoring the history, traditions, and contributions of the first people to inhabit this land. Perhaps the most famous indigenous person of the modern era is one of Oklahoma's own, the great athlete Jim Thorpe, who is now regaining much-deserved recognition. James Brown takes a look at the impact and legacy of this modern hero and sports legend.
November is Native American Heritage Month, a good moment to focus on Jim Thorpe, perhaps the most famous indigenous person in American history. He was a Sac and Fox tribe member raised in Oklahoma, who became an Olympic hero, a professional baseball player, and a football star. More than a century later, Thorpe remains the pride of the country's oldest community.
In 1915 or so, there were only about 250,000 indigenous people in this country left. And in some sense, Jim Thorpe's struggles represent that larger struggle and perseverance of his people.
David Marinus is the author of a new biography of Thorpe, published by a division of our parent company, Paramount Global.
You know, I would argue that 1912, James Thorpe was the single best year of any athlete ever. He won those 2 gold medals and had a fabulous football season.
That year, the Carlisle Indians led all of college football in scoring. One of their 12 victories was especially hard fought.
They thumped the Army team at West Point. White David Eisenhower playing linebacker. Thorpe ran over him, knocked him out of the game.
Just as his star began to rise again, Thorpe became bogged down in scandal.
This was at a time when hundreds of college athletes were playing minor league baseball under aliases. Dwight Eisenhower, again, played in the Kansas State League under the name Wilson. But Jim Thorpe played under the name Jim Thorpe. He never tried to hide it, and he suffered for it when others didn't. And I think that was partly due to racism at that point.
Thorpe's gold medals were stripped by the International Olympic Committee in 1913 after he was deemed a professional athlete by the Amateur Athletic Union. In 1982, his records were partially reinstated, but it wasn't until this year that he was fully restored as champion. The reversal came with renewed attention on the government-funded Indian residential school systems in the U.S. and Canada.
He was world famous at a time when very few American athletes were. He was the Muhammad Ali of his era before there could be such a thing.
James Brown, CBS News, Washington.